In today's world, filmmakers have so many tools to choose from, no matter the stage that we are at in our careers. We have phones in our pockets that can shoot imagery that I would have dreamed of when I was growing up. However, for filmmakers wanting to step their game up and get into shooting in a more controlled way, there is one camera that stands above most. And that is the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and it still might be one of the best bang for buck cameras on the market. The Pocket 4K was released nearly 5 years ago now, and it still can produce great imagery. It features a micro four thirds sensor capable of capturing a rated 13 stops of dynamic range, which is good for such a small sensor. It can capture 4K up to 60 FPS and Full HD up to 120 FPS. However, when shooting in these off-speed frame rates, you will be windowing in on the sensor in the lower resolutions. This, compared to with the already tight crop factor compared to full frame of the MFT sensor, means that when shooting at 120 frames per second, you will have a heavy crop. The sensor has a dual native ISO of 400 and 3200, which does make it decent in lower light conditions, but definitely not as good as other large sensors on the market. The image for its price is excellent, and being able to really fine-tune the look you want with the internally recordable RAW format means you can easily give the footage the exact look you want. Looking back at the short video that we shot with the 4K about an awesome bespoke knife company in Peckham back in 2018, the images still look really great. And over the years, the Pocket 4K has been used by so many filmmakers to shoot amazing content. One thing that Blackmagic have always done very well is cramming as much into their cameras as they can for filmmakers, and this includes the internal recording formats and codecs. The Pocket 4K is no different. It started out its life being able to record ProRes and Cinema DNG RAW, but in 2019, Blackmagic released their own RAW codec while also removing Cinema DNG from the camera. Some people loved this update and others hated it. Personally, I think for the market that this is aimed at, B-RAW makes much more sense, as Cinema DNG is more difficult to work with. Whether you shoot either B-RAW or ProRes, both are fantastic once you hit post-production, but for slightly different reasons. ProRes has been a standard for post-production workflows for such a long time now that playback and compatibility is top-notch. So if you want a fast, seamless turnaround without heavy amounts of processing, ProRes is a great option. However, B-RAW is also a fantastic option as well. It's equally as great when it comes to playback, and this is partly due to the way that Blackmagic are half deburring the footage in camera instead of just in post. B-RAW is currently supported in Premiere Pro, Avid Media Composer, Edius, and of course DaVinci Resolve. Once you bring your B-RAW clips into your editor of choice, you'll easily be able to manipulate the raw parameters of your footage, which is here in Resolve and here for Premiere. Here you can adjust things like your color space and gamma, white balance, ISO, and everything else that you expect with raw parameter changes. If you change anything, you can actually save this metadata to a sidecar file, so when you open up the B-RAW clip in another program that reads B-RAW, these metadata changes will carry over. We did a real deep dive into the post-production side of B-RAW in our Ursa 12K review, as well as a previous B-RAW video. So if this is something you want to learn more about, you can check out the videos down below. The camera can record to several different media types. You've got an SD card slot, a CFast 2.0 slot, and a USB-C, which you can use an external SSD with. But what you should use will depend on what frame rate and resolution you choose. Blackmagic has an excellent compatible media list, which clearly shows what different media you will need for the different frame rates, so just grab what you need. You also have the ability to turn on a dropped frame marker, which will make it very clear when you do start dropping frames, or you can have the camera stop recording altogether when you do as well. The Pocket 4K isn't quite as pocket as the original Pocket camera was, but it's still decently small and lightweight. You have mounting points on the top and bottom, so you can easily securely mount a cage without it twisting in place. You also have a pair of microphones at the front, and then exhaust and intake fans here and here. The Pocket 4K has a good amount of inputs and outputs, which make the camera pretty versatile. You have good audio inputs and outputs, a solid power input connector, and a USB-C port, which, like we said earlier, can be used for external recording or power. One of the biggest downsides of the Pocket 4K is the LP6 battery that it uses, which when paired with the high power draw results in the camera absolutely smashing through batteries. This means that ideally you would want to use some kind of external power solution like a large V-lock or MPF or external USB-C power bank. However, you can of course just grab a bunch of LP6 if you don't mind swapping them out a lot. As the camera has been out for a while now, there are a bunch of different accessories specifically designed for the 4K, and this means that you can really easily rig this camera up to exactly what you need. Whether that's small run and gun, portrait orientated, on a gimbal, or fully rigged up, you can easily do it. The Pocket 4K uses the micro four thirds lens mount, which means that you can use a good range of small, affordable MFT lenses or easily adapt pretty much any lens you want onto it. You can also use a focal reducer, which can help you achieve a look closer to what you would expect from a larger sensor camera. If you want to learn about why focal reducers are awesome and why you may want to use one, you can check out our video all about them here. Because the autofocus is very basic on the 4K, a lot of people decide to adapt the lenses and pull focus manually. I would suggest that if you are running the camera very stripped back, that you may want to check out lenses with IBIS, as that will really help with micro jitters and shake. The Pocket 4K, along with Blackmagic's other cameras, feature the same fantastic Blackmagic operating system that people have grown to love, and won't take you very long to get used to, as it's actually very simple. The menu is incredibly fast and easy to use. It really is refreshing to use when compared to some other camera systems on the market. The camera boots up quickly around 2 to 3 seconds, which is incredibly fast in comparison to other cinema cameras on the market. There are 3 gestures, which are also pretty handy to know. If you swipe down, this hides the UI, swipe left or right to bring up a clip and project metadata, and lastly you can zoom in by 2 times by double tapping. This is another big factor that makes these cameras so great for people to learn with, and the reason why they're in so many universities and colleges. They really are easy to use and feature tools and settings that you will see in higher end cinema cameras. It's very obvious that this menu system has been designed from the ground up for capturing moving image. It's not a stills menu system that's been adjusted for it. You have great focusing and exposure tools, which will make shooting easy and accurate, and you can even load in your own LUTs, which you can easily make in Resolve. You can also create and load complete camera setting presets, which is really helpful, especially if you end up using multiple of these cameras at once. Even after being on the market for nearly 5 years now, the Pocket 4K still offers insane value for money, even with the unfortunate price increases we've seen over the past years from Blackmagic. At its price, there really aren't too many cameras that offer what it does, and this is why it's been so popular since its release. I honestly think the Pocket 4K is the best new camera you can buy for entry-level filmmakers on a tight budget, especially when you factor in that when you buy the Pocket 4K, or any other Blackmagic camera for that matter, you get a copy of their incredibly popular DaVinci Resolve Studio for free, which regularly retails for £300 by itself. There is of course the free version of Resolve available, but the Studio version has a good range of improvements over the free one, such as a good denoiser, GPU acceleration, higher resolution timelines, and a bunch more. Blackmagic offering this with their cameras is incredibly smart, as it's them trying to own the entire imaging pipeline, from acquisition to publishing. And this means that the experience that you have when using B-RAW inside of Resolve is exactly what Blackmagic want you to experience. It's an excellent piece of software, and if you're just starting to make your way in filmmaking or content creation, learning in Resolve is definitely something that I would suggest, as it's a very powerful piece of software that is used by loads of people in our industry. Blackmagic are constantly improving it, and even if you don't grab a copy of the full Resolve, the free one can do a lot of what the Studio one can do, and even more expensive software, and it can even do more in certain ways. So yeah, the Pocket 4K is awesome. It still offers an excellent blend of everything you need to consider when buying a camera, and really the only downsides worth considering are its lack of complex autofocus system, in-body image stabilization, and poor battery life. But you can overlook that it doesn't have these things because it's a more cinema-focused camera, and it's trying to be an entry point into shooting in that way. However, if you want a slight step up, Blackmagic also has the Pocket 6K and 6K Pro, which use a different Super 35 6K sensor. The 6K is a bit larger than the 4K and uses an EF mount instead of MFT, whereas the Pro features some more significant improvements such as an internal ND system, brighter screen, and the ability to use an optional EVF. We've reviewed the 6K Pro in depth in a previous video, so if you want to learn more, you can by checking out the video by clicking the link here. If you have any more questions or thoughts about the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, let us know in the comments. And if you like the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing so you don't miss out on our awesome upcoming content. And thank you so much for watching.